Yeah. Either the council or even anybody from the audience who wants to do the invocation. I'm happy to turn that over to anybody who wants to do it. If not, I can do it. Please bow your head. Dear Lord, thank you for coming to this meeting, for bringing us together tonight to do the good work of Saginaw. Thank you for all these folks that are really concerned and want the best for the city of Saginaw. We appreciate all your blessings and gifts you've given us. We know we're very blessed. We would love some rain, but other than that, all is well. So thank you so much for the city of Saginaw and our ability to do good things and do our best for the future. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, sir.
Item 3 is audience participation. If you want to speak on any agenda that is listed, you are able to. Please see the city secretary. She can fill out a little form for you. But any item that is listed, you are welcome to join the conversation. Item number 4, consent agenda. I've had a request to pull C and E. So we will discuss A, action regarding minutes of June 21st, B, action regarding minutes of June 28th, and D, action regarding building improvement grant agreement with Century 21 Alliance Properties. Any questions or comments on A, B, and D? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the agenda items A, B, and D, please.
Do I have a second? Second. All right, take out your voting. We ready, Keith? Let's vote. All right. We ready? Yay, all right. Motion passes. All right, moving forward. Item C is action regarding cancellation of the July 19th meeting. That's Secretary Janice England. So I think Cindy had a couple questions. So you want to ask your questions, Cindy?
Thank you, Mayor, for pulling this item. I was looking through the packet for the budget workshop, and I noticed on the last page it says that Tuesday, 7/19, the City Council meeting budget workshop is going to be enterprise escrow, and capital project funds. So are we planning to move that to a different night?
Yes, I didn't want to be presumptuous and change the budget calendar without y'all approving the cancellation of that meeting. So those topics would be pushed to the first meeting in August.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on item C, right? Okay. Questions on item C? All right, let's do E as well right here. E is action regarding purchase of generators for Public Works offices and Jarvis for elevated storage tank. For that, Director of Public Works, Randy Newsom.
Mayor, this item is something that was approved in this year's fiscal budget in 122. It's 2 generators one's for Jarvis overhead, one is for Brenda Lane. We currently have no backup power at both of the sites, which in our emergency response plan, we're going to turn into TCQ. Those are 2 items that were identified as being delinquent. So we already had planned on doing it after that freeze episode. So we were geared up and ready to get those generators installed.
Questions?
I was just wondering if we could reuse the generators that will be probably, I'm assuming they're going to be left behind for the fire department. Is there any way that we could reuse those at those locations, or can they be reused?
One of them is extremely eligible, the liability in question.
Okay.
The other one, we plan to repurpose that, put that on a trailer for mobile use. Or put it in another facility, we just haven't got that far yet, but it will be repurposed.
Okay.
One of them is still good shape, the other one is discard.
Okay.
It was the original one we moved in there, so it's had a lot of use.
All right. Thank you very much.
Any other questions on item E, Council? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve, C and E?
I'll second.
All right, second. Let's vote. All in? Thank you, guys. Motion passes. Thank y'all, folks. I'm starting to get used to this voting thing, so Keith, it just takes me a little while, but I'm getting there. All right, item 5, City Employee Recognition and Aquatic Center Update. Keith Howard. Whoa.
Your microphone is on. Working. Thank you for allowing me to come talk to you today. I wanted to tell you a little bit
kind of almost a threefold for the city about the Aquatic Center update and also staff recognition. As you are aware, February 2021 we suffered a severe ice storm, and it's not just Saginaw, it's pretty much all of Texas suffered that storm. Residents, business owners took in significant damages as temperatures hovered below zero for a week. State electrical grid was down, not working, no running water, no electricity. We suffered these same symptoms that everyone else did. As a reminder, the city of Saginaw is not the only municipality who suffered any damage. They all did. Parts and service technicians were on short supply because everyone had the same problem we had. For commercial aquatic facilities, I'm doing that on purpose. No. For commercial and for residential aquatic facilities, so significant repairs are needed to be made in all different areas. The aquatic facility was shut down in 2020 because of COVID. We had nothing to do with that, but we had to shut down for that reason. 2021, we were closed because we didn't have enough staff to open the facility. COVID was still kind of rolling. All of the municipalities across the state are short-staffed. This is kind of sad or sick of me to think this, but every time when I go home and I get home from work and I put it on the news, we have our routine watching the news, whatever news it is while we're eating dinner, and I hear of this other facility or other municipality, they're closing their pools because they can't get enough staff. And I always hoped that y'all would hear that the council would hear that the residents would hear that, because we're not the only one that went through that. They're still announcing that facilities are closing. They're closing for the season. Some of them are closing for the season. They never opened up because they didn't have enough staff. Some of them are opening with reduced staffing, reduced days, reduced hours. City of Hearst has 2 water parks. One of them's not even opening. One of them is opening to reduced hours and reduced days. North Richland Hills NRH2O is having the same exact problem. City of Richardson, City of Fort Worth, City of Arlington, name a city. They all suffered the same thing. A lot of the cities were doing things that they don't normally do, which is have hiring bonuses for lifeguards, just to entice people to come to work. Right now, we're finding that people just don't want to work. I just got back from a trip in Colorado, and I was talking to somebody who was at the hotel that we were at, and we were in the pool, and they said, yeah, we went to the public pool, and they're closed today because they don't have enough staff. It's not just a Saginaw thing. It's everywhere. Everyone's going through the same exact thing. However, we opened up. The city of Saginaw might be one of the only municipalities that opened up with full staff. Now, it wasn't easy. We didn't just snap our fingers, although Vicki tried so many times, 4 blisters on her fingers. But we're one of the only facilities that opened with a full staff. We were closed for 2 years, like I said. We had to start from scratch because every year we've always had returning guards. The only year we didn't have returning guards was the very first year we opened up, and we had to train 36 people how to do a job because they'd never had jobs before. This year we had 3 that actually had some experience, so we had to train 33 people. Another thing that we had to go through is that no facility, no municipality pays for the training for their lifeguards. That's on the lifeguard themselves. That's their responsibility to do that. But we did. We paid for that. We had to start from scratch hiring 33 of the 36. Now we have a full staff, and we have a superior staff. Jennifer Blick is our aquatic center manager. She has taught swim lessons for us since, I believe, 2009. She's exceptional and will do an exceptional job for us. We still have some remaining. I'm not going to go into all of the work that had to be done because it was significant, and I'm getting hungry, and I don't want to be here all night to have to tell you about them all. But some of the things that still remain are the communication cables from building to building. This is a problem we've had since we've been opened up. When the facility was built, internet was not provided at the aquatic center. So we had to do the best we could with wireless off the building of the rec center in hopes that it would, Greg can describe it better, but help me.
Radio relays is what was set up. Now, when your building was already built when we moved in, the main rec center. So we built this pool, and we had architects do it, and I don't really ever understand what happened, but it was like no one realized we're going to have phone cables, we're going to have internet cable, we're going to have some way. We can't just take cash and yell ambulance if somebody starts getting hurt. There's no way to do this. So nothing was made to accommodate this. So like a week before we were doing up there, me and some guys from Public Works were hanging. We had radio relays from either end of the building trying to get them situated because it's a point situation where they have to be aimed at each other. Otherwise, you have to set up like a mesh network. Anyway, it's a lot of stuff. So we never set anything up, and we had some guys come out this week. It's only a problem when it's hot, and it's been especially hot this year. And anyway, they've asked me for a way to come up with this so that we wouldn't have to keep dealing with this, and the conduit will pull in between it and through the parking lot is how we're going to do this, and we won't have to worry about this again after this.
Normally, we don't have these problems until late July, probably mid-July and on when it starts getting really hot. It's just been really hot. It's supposed to be 106 this week on multiple days. Some other things is there's a lateral line where the pumps are. We're getting some sand leakage in the pool. We can get by. We've got it patched with a Band-Aid, so to speak. But at the end of the season, we can get by for now. But at the end of the season, we've got to make that repair. The concrete surface at the snack shack and the entry, we've got, again, a Band-Aid to take care of it for right now. But at the end of the season, we've got to not re-pour the whole concrete, but resurface the top at the entry and at the snack shack. The pool surface, that we had to get the pool resurfaced this year. They're having some minor issues, not leaking type issues, but sometimes if it's a temperature can affect how the surface is laid, and it gets what was called, it looks like spiders, little spiders where it spreads. Usually once the water hits it, it closes up, but it didn't. So because it's under warranty, we're waiting until the end of the season to get it taken care of. We could do it now, but we'd be shut down for a week or two. And this can wait till the end of the season. The HVAC system is working at about probably 70% at best on a good day when it's not 106 degrees outside, and that needs to be replaced because that air conditions the whole facility, not outside, of course, but the guard shack, the women's restroom, the family restroom, the men's restroom, and the snack shack. Picnic tables, most of those are original from when we first built the facility in 2007, need to be replaced. The zero grade grates, we have our existing ones in. Again, we have Band-Aids on them, and we're getting those replaced here very quickly. Now to the good part. The first part's not good, but city staff during this time has received a lot of threats, verbal threats, almost physical threats, constantly belittling, discrediting, getting cussed out on a daily basis, which is not real fun for staff. It's not our fault, but we'll take the blame. Staff consistently worked 14 plus hours a day after day, consistently, sometimes 7 days a week, just to get this facility open. The aquatic center is only a small part of their job, and it's just seasonal, but it needs to be taken care of year-round, which is something we do. The rest of their jobs are year-round, and it still goes on. Again, I said earlier, the city of Saginaw might be the only municipality who opened with a full staff. We did. I'd like now to the good part and recognize some of those staff that did work 14 hours a day, sometimes 7 days a week. First, the leader of our recreation department, Vicki Weldon, our recreation services manager. Jason England's our recreation services supervisor. Ashton Coker, our recreation services coordinator. I don't see her here. Jennifer Blick is our aquatic center manager. and our amazing intern, Micah Amerson, who's an intern from Illinois State University, is working with us this summer. I'd also like to recognize some of our most important employees, the ones who kind of get the least credit, but they're the most important in the department. It's not me. It's not anyone else. It's these people. It's our part-time employees, because they're the ones that answer the phone. They're the ones that get most of the verbal abuse. When people call, that's who they talk to. When people come up there, that's who they see. That's their smiling face that they see. And all of our part-time staff, I want to recognize them also. We couldn't have done any of this without the help of our team. We work as a team. We are a team. We're like a family of employees. We care about each other. We don't have egos. We're just selfless employees. When one of us fails, we all fail. When one of us succeeds, we all succeed. You have a lot of long-tenured employees, some on this dais, some out here in the crowd, and we've been here because we wanted to be here. You're lucky to have the city employees that you have. We couldn't do it without them. And I want to thank our Public Works Department, and I'm going to let Randy and Jared Kersey talk about them and recognize their employees.
Thank you, Keith. I'll turn it over to Jared right quick. He's got a list of all the guys that they went above and beyond what they normally do in a daily routine. They jumped in there and they got everything done and got shined and pretty and ready to open on the time that we wanted it open. So with that, I'll give it to Jared and his guys to recognize those guys.
Mayor and council, I'm going to pick up with them. Just so everybody at home can hear you. I don't want to miss this.
Mayor and Council, thank you for having us here tonight. It is an honor to introduce our Public Works employees tonight. Some are here, not everybody can make it, but I'm just going to go, you guys stand up if I call your name. But Daniel Franklin, Ray Hatton, Colton Reasoner, Dustin Selfer, Ryan McAlay, Aaron Morgan, Juan Perez, Dalen Cervantes, Jacob Chestnut, Corey Smith, Doug Goff, Brendan Boatwright, Jonathan Reams, and Jeremy Matthews. Every one of these employees went above and beyond to get the pool open, and we're very proud of them. So thank you.
Guys, thank you very much. Am I on? Am I sort of on? Can y'all hear me? My light's on. Can y'all hear me very well? No. Well, thank y'all very much. I really appreciate it. We don't take for granted this at all. We're all thrilled to have the Aquatic Center open, and it's a beautiful facility. And I know it's, every time I've been by there, it's been packed. So that tells you that the citizens love it. And I really appreciate it. The whole council appreciates y'all's hard work. I know it was not easy. We were in an uphill battle, but I really appreciate what y'all did to make it happen. We want a picture? Okay. Who can we get up for the picture?
All y'all. Vicky, come on. All y'all.
Hey, y'all want us to stand up here?
Y'all can stand up there, and then
I'll stand up like this and everybody.
yeah, everybody just stand up from the back.
Okay. He takes his hat off for the picture, right?
I'm taking the shower in 5 days. And 1, 2, 3, cheese. Chicken, chicken, chicken. No, it doesn't have a sound effect, but yeah.
All right, thank you, folks. Am I on? Okay. Item number 6, recognition of Young Southeast Asian Leadership Fellows. City Manager Gabe Raymond.
Mayor and Council, it's my pleasure to introduce a couple ladies tonight. They win the award for being the farthest from home for attendance. So if this was bingo at the Recreation Center, we would have a bottle of Fabuloso to give away. We'll find a better gift. You might recall a couple years ago we had 2 fellows as part of a State Department-sponsored program, the Young Southeast Asian Leadership Initiative, both from Myanmar. We have 2 fellows again with us. They have completed 2 weeks here and have 2 weeks remaining. Sam is from the Philippines, and Honey is from Myanmar. So we told them we like to be timely in their presentation. We promise will be less than 2 hours. So with that, I give it to Sam and Honey.
Hello, just checking. Hi, Mayor, Council, and everyone here. Good afternoon. My name is Honey Tetet. Tetet is like our Burmese typical name, but Honey is very easy name. Honey, the real Honey. You can friendly call me Honey. I'm from Myanmar. First of all, we would like to thank the Council, the City of Saginaw for hosting us for the YSEALI, we call YSEALI Young Southeast Asia Leader Initiative Program. Thank you very much for hosting us. I'm from Myanmar, and I am from the non-profit. I work at an international NGO called Samaritan's Part. It is a Christian faith-based organization, and I'm working on the humanitarian response and emergency response project. I am the project manager of that organization, and I apply this program. And then altogether there are 7 participants from Myanmar. They are across the United States, and I'm here. And now we are very privileged and honored to be here. Thank you very much.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sam. I work as a youth communications and media consultant for the Asian Development Bank's Youth for Asia initiative. And on the side, just like other millennials, I have a lot of hats to play on a daily basis. I also serve as the managing partner of an organizational development startup, among 2 other startups, and I also serve as a communications lecturer for 2 Catholic universities back in Manila. A lot of stuff on my plate, but here I am in the city of Saginaw doing exposure trip as well.
Yes, second slides, please. Yeah, as you can see, the slides, like the map, are very simple map. We have traveled more than 13,000 kilometers from our home countries in Southeast Asia to come to Texas and Saginaw here. So it sounds like a very long distance, but we feel like we are home here in your state, Texas, especially in the city of Saginaw. We are here today to share some highlights of our journey so far and what the City Council can look forward to in a short term. Yeah.
All right, so you might be wondering what we're doing here in Saginaw now. So I traveled that long, and why we're here today with you. Honey and I are part of the Spring-Summer 22 cohort of the Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative, or YSEALI for short. I am part of the 17-person delegation from the Philippines, and it is a 2-way peer-to-peer leadership program sponsored by the U.S. State Department for Young and Emerging Leaders in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, plus Timor-Leste, because Timor-Leste is on an observer status right now. So around 100 fellows from our cohort are assigned across the states as we speak. We come from 4 institutes, namely civic engagement, economic empowerment, governance and society, and last but not the least is our theme, sustainable development and the environment. So our journey started in November 2021 when we applied for the program. As things are highly volatile and uncertain, we had no idea if our in-person fellowship would really push through. Disaster specialists that we are, we knew we should be prepared for the so-called worst-case scenario, especially when it comes to the pandemic and travel restrictions. And back then, we pitched an action plan during the application stage. This plan is meant to be implemented as a reciprocal exchange program. And in fact, Gabe went to Myanmar back in 2018, if I'm not, at 19. Yeah. And Hon can discuss more about this later. And since our selection as fellows in winter 2022, we have undergone virtual leadership courses and other preparatory activities. Our in-person journey started in DC on June 13 to 17, and here we are in the city of Saginaw for our 1 month work placement with the Office of the City Manager.
Yes, you can see that the slide, that is 3 new things we learned in the past 3 weeks here. Actually, we have experienced how a local government manage and arrange for administration, like public services and reinforcement on maintaining rules and regulations. Our experience here in Saginaw was made more special by the officers and the staff of the following offices: Office of City Manager, Police Department, Department of Public Works, Water Department, Fire Department, and the Northwest Tarrant County Community Emergency Response Team, or SART. Among everything we have experienced here, we would like to highlight 3 things. The first thing, leadership. That's what we saw in Saginaw City. We witnessed the collaborative activity of the city of Saginaw, all departments, and a very strong participation in good governance. When it comes to good governance, we can generally describe in its characteristic as transparency, accountability, participation, responsiveness, etc. That is what, in our opinion, and that is what we have seen in the body of City of Saginaw and our departments. The second thing, professional. It is clearly seen the services given by the City of Saginaw, such as public services like public works, public safety, and public administration. They are generally done. If I say detail, it would take more than 2 hours. So I can say that these all services are highly professional. That is what we witness here. We have met with staff in every department. We found that they are passionate and professional for what they are doing. We all know that we do better when we love our job. And that is what we saw in the City of Saginaw, all departments. And then the third thing is like cultural, Texas pride. Actually, we don't even need to mention many things, because the mural of Angela at Stanford and the water tank and the cowboy culture show how Texas people are so proud of what they have. And of course, Texas food like barbecue and Mexican food are also Texas specialties and pride. Not only the food I mentioned earlier, we have tasted food with diverse background like Italian, Japanese, Mexican, etc. And we have to taste more diverse food, like we found a Vietnamese restaurant. That is our Southeast Asian thing. We will try. And beside people in Texas are very welcoming and friendly, and we are very grateful for that. And then you can see the pictures. I will explain left to right. The first thing with some food. This is our first day in Saginaw, Texas. Not Saginaw, I think somewhere in this area. That food were very tasty, and our lovely brother colleague Pedro took us there. It was tasty. And then that second picture in the Perot Museum, I think that was nice, very nice museum. And then now we have become the museum persons now. Very nice museum. And the fire engines, like that was one of the amazing experience we have experienced here. Like you can see that both of us in the fire engine, and the firefighters there, including fire chief, they did amazing job and they explain everything, how fire engine work, how their responsibility and function in case of emergency or even in a peacetime. And then our fire celebrity Sheldon, the arson detector. We love dogs, and then of course we have to take a picture with him. And then in the middle, I think that in a white, this was me with Joe, Officer Joe Lester. We both are interested in emergency management, so he explained everything there, and then we are exploring around the Emergency Operations Center. And then the mural we mentioned, the same, the Angela Stanford. And then our police our department, I think that this is Officer Gonzalez. Actually, we met many officers there, but we had a chance to take a photo with him. That was amazing. We took with police vehicle with them for patrolling around the city. And then, last not least, our city manager Gabe and his daughter Rosie, they were showing us around the museum. Now, Gabe is not only a very good city manager, he's also a very good tourist guide. We have to mention that. Yeah, thank you very much, Gabe.
Mr. Mayor, just one thing. Our friends' invitation to Texas, they were welcomed by Pedro, and on behalf of the city of Saginaw, I would like to apologize
No.
that our friends were taken to Dickey's Barbecue. For the record, I rebounded. We went to Heim Barbecue in Fort Worth when I was a tour guide, so we'll talk later, sir.
Actually, Pedro took us to H-Mart, like the Asian market. That was amazing. You know, the first day in Saginaw, Texas, and then we found an Asian market. We got everything there, rice and Asian ingredients for cooking. That was excellent. Yeah.
That's the very reason why we don't miss home just yet, because we still got rice. So now we're on our third week here in Saginaw. My gosh, time really flies so fast. And the whole of next week will still be spent here with the city officials, officers, and community members. We will still get more time to learn and share precious moments with the city of Saginaw local government, Community Link, and CERT, to name a few. On the 17th of July, we will fly back to DC for a debriefing session with the ICMA and to participate in the Waisili Fellows Forum, where we will present what we learned here in Saginaw and show the best of the county and state. But our journey doesn't end there. Upon getting home, we will start implementing our action plans based on feasibility and available resources to us. On top of that, we will also get in touch with the public affairs section of the U.S. Embassy in our home countries. We're just getting to the exciting part. A number of pathways are before us. We can seek partnerships and fundings like cities for our projects. We can network with the alumni of the U.S. exchange programs for further collaboration, because there are a lot, like Fulbright, YCD, and others. And we can also join open call competitions like tech startup weekends and stuff for the scaling up of our projects. And this is really just the start of something new. Please connect with us through our emails flashed on the screen. At maraming salamat po.
Jesu te mare. This is thank you in our language. Thank you.
Wait, don't sit down. Don't sit down yet. You got to answer questions. We might have some great questions, Council. Questions for these fellows?
I already asked them how they liked it here. They said they liked it. So.
Well, I am very optimistic about the future of Southeast Asia with leaders like y'all, willing to reach out to this and take a big risk and come over here and hopefully learn some things, but hope we can learn from y'all as well. So tell me what you've learned. You mentioned local governance and government and city management. So what have you learned and what do you hope to learn about just the U.S. and how we govern and do things? What have you learned so far and what are your thoughts?
For me, oh my gosh, the Philippines and the United States share a lot of things in common, especially in our democratic institutions. Some of our laws are even based on U.S. laws. So it's really awesome to see it in action, and just being here inside this hall gives me goosebumps, because the city hall is very open. Everyone's welcome, and even the mere live streaming of your sessions means a lot, that you're open, you're very transparent, that participation is at the core of good governance and public administration. I am a community development major, so we're kind of on the different sides of things, right, when it comes to public administration. But I don't believe that it has to be that way. It has to be always at the center. Public administration here and community development should merge at the center and make sure that the people are at the center of development in all of the things that we do, in each process that we do, and even from process like budgeting, like consultations. It has to be very genuine, and that's what we see here in Saginaw, really.
Yes, for me, I have a different story because I come from Myanmar, which has a lot of issue at the moment. We were in the democratic journey last 5 years ago, but due to that, we call military coup. So maybe you remember I mentioned transparency, accountability, responsiveness. That means a lot to me to see here in Saginaw. And then plus I forgot to mention, I found the connection between the local government and the community. That personally is very important for me. At the moment, we mostly rely on the private sectors and the nonprofits for that, the emergency management. In my master's degree, I specialize in disaster risk and resilience. So I so much care about the community and community resilience thing. And then the connection between government and community is very important. It plays a vital role to build a resilient community. But according to the political development in my country, it's like, upside down. The thing I mentioned, we had seen past few years, but it's become upside down. So all the effort that people and Democratic Party, they work together, this is my personal opinion, it doesn't represent the whole country. So we feel like our efforts are in vain. So for me, I'm still a citizen there. So I really want to bring, actually, not only me, most of the young people there, we would like to work for our community, like how the transparency, the responsiveness, the accountability are very important for the local partner. And then I mentioned that the communication between government and community are very, so if I have a chance, I will talk about Saginaw. That's what I experienced, and then that I learned from here. And then I'm not sure whether I can use everything here to adapt there because of our different contexts and different things, but I'm sure I can bring something to my own community, maybe a very small community. So if I can work with the like-minded people like me, so we can bring something good to them. Yeah.
Did you take them to a good Texas barbecue? I'm a little worried because the Philippines is noted for their pork.
Yeah, lechon.
Yeah, and so Dickie's, and you take an expert.
Why?
Be in trouble.
So it's been a lot of fun on the weekend. Our fellows have been with our family, and we're doing the tourist circuit. Again, I hope that Heim Barbecue was better. Certainly a staff discussion. We've done a lot of fun things. In fact, I'm tired. We're going to Houston later this week to see NASA. So I tried to explain there's regional rivalries in all countries, but I tried to explain to every good DFW person when they hear the word Houston, they sigh. But it's all right. We'll have a lot of fun. So we've had a lot of fun together. When they do go back to DC and home, we'll certainly miss them.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you very
Brent.
much.
Look forward to Oregon. Thank y'all. Want a picture?
Don't you want a picture of there for us? Yeah.
Are the council girl take a picture for the city council? That'd be great.
You want the council or just the mayor? What do you want?
Same, just stand up.
Stand up. Close to each other.
All right, Dickie's Barbecue on 3. 2, 3. All right, thank you.
Awesome. Thank y'all. Very inspiring. Item number 7, presentation of service pin to Councilmember Cindy Bighorse, and that's me. First of all, I can't believe it's been 5 years. I had to look on your pen to see how many years because I can't keep up. But it's been 5 years. It's been a great 5 years. Cindy is a passionate supporter of the city. A lot of the things she has done with parks, with kids, but also especially with seniors. She's really passionate about the seniors. We would not be building a new senior center, I don't think, without Cindy, without her support and her pushing us to, we were concerned about the budget and because it's a lot of money, but Cindy convinced us on her passionate support for the seniors and the way we can do some synergy stuff with kitchens and different things. So a lot of good things Cindy has done, and I'm proud to work with her, and I know the citizens are thrilled to have Cindy on the council. So I have a pin, very nice, suitable for training pin. I guess we'll another picture? Yes. I figured. Where do you want to see? Let's stand up. We can do it. Let's do it. Something like this? Does this work for you? Yeah, that's good. Do you want to say a couple words? You don't have to. It's up to you.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate your support. I love Saginaw. It's I moved here when I was around 30, but it has been the only home that my daughter and granddaughter have known, and I wanted to continue to be that for them in the future. So once again, thank you for your support. I love Saginaw.
Thank you. Moving forward, item number 8, consideration action regarding authorization of expenditure for Gambian delegates to attend and provide entertainment at the 2022 Training Grain Festival. Authorization for expenditure, Gambian Association, et cetera, For that, Abdullah. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. As you all know, last year, the City Council approved the funding for Banjul City Council's visit to the Training Grain Festival, which comprised of the mayor, City Council members, and a musician. But due to COVID-19, the United States State Department was stopped issuing B1, B2 visas, which is also known as visitors visas and business visas. So they couldn't make the event. The mayor indicated to me that she was at a meeting where the U.S. ambassador was, and he had reassured her that this year's event, he will make sure that they attend it. So she's super excited about that. The mayor and her delegates are also excited to be here to participate in activities that will strengthen the relationship between the two cities. Also in attendance of last year's event was the former president of Gambia Texas Association, Bamba Sona, who spoke at the event. Currently, he is the outgoing president, and the newly elected president, Bamba, I forgot his name, but I've talked to him, and he's also excited to participate in this year's event. He has indicated that he wanted the Gambian Hunting Society in the DFW area to participate in this event, in this year's event. So I'm excited to see those guys in this year. I know Gabe and everyone has been telling me they want to see me dance. I've been practicing that. I've been practicing. I don't know how it will come out, but I'm ready to show my moves. But that's what I have. Everyone from Banjul is excited, and I can't wait to see them here as well. Thank you.
Council, questions? Hold on. Questions for Abdullah?
How large is your city council?
Sorry?
How many members are in your city council?
To be honest, I can go back and do a research and see how many members they have. I haven't lived in Gambia in over 13 years, so yeah, I'm not really aware. But I know Mayor Lowe wants to come in with at least 6 members from the council. Yeah, so they'll be in attendance this year.
We're talking like 6 in the whole party, right? So 6 people from the Gambia.
Yes.
So the cost, another note, eligible expense for hotel occupancy tax, the cost for the delegation, primarily their flights and lodging while they're here, as well as providing some money for the Gambia Texas Association to do a traditional dance. And I think we may have food. You may recall last year we had some drinks, Wanjo juice. And let's be honest, the headliner, Abdullah. I mean, it's like we're all waiting for the dance move, sir.
Are we still looking at
Yeah, so the fun part about Sister City programs is you structure it in whatever manner you please. So I'd love on my own to pay for my own travel to go to Gambia. I believe Mayor Lowe, who one thing, I've had some interactions with her via WhatsApp, which is really cool that, I can basically FaceTime somebody across the world. She hasn't got my name correct yet, but we'll worry about that later. She calls me Gabby, but that's all right. My mother calls me that sometimes. But yeah, I would love to go personally. We can all go, maybe on our own funds. One thing we've talked about potentially when our visitors are here is sending them home with some children's books. I was able to do that working with the library when I visited Myanmar. Sister City programs are so much fun. It's great to have friends across the world. Mayor Lowe, in terms of, and I'd like to probably tell you more, but in terms of the political leadership in the country, is very high up. She's almost like a federal level politician. She's maybe has presidential aspirations at some point. So she'll, from what we understand, she's going to draw a crowd, and she wants to see Abdullah dance as well. So.
Yeah.
I believe our seniors, our quilters have a quilt they still need to give to them, right? Yeah. So we can do that at the training green this year.
Yes.
It's all good. Excellent. So that'll be very exciting.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so we do take action here to approve the expenditure from $15,000 from hotel motel occupancy tax. I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the action to bring the gambling delegation.
Is that correct? Right. Well, let's vote.
I'll be sleeping on the job.
We're ready. There we go. You ready?
Y'all can't see it, but we all voted yes.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Abdullah.
Yeah, that was
There you go. Thank you, folks. Look forward to it. Item 9. Consideration action regarding professional architectural services proposal by PJL for John Ed Keeter Building and City Hall renovation concept. For that, Assistant City Manager Lee Howell.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to call on the Director of Public Works, Randy Newsom, to provide some details on this item.
Thank you, Lee. Mayor and Council. This item is for consideration and approval of funding for the renovation concept study by PGAL for the John Ed Keeter Library. We did a 2019 assessment, and it was identified to reconstruct the library, possibly house Public Works, which we are. If any of you have ever been up to the Public Works facility, we have no room at all. From 2019 until now, we've moved the building department out of Public Works. They've gone to the depot on the boulevard, and now then they're out. They have no more room for expansion files and whatnot. So the intent is to get them in with Public Works Administration and move into the library after it's renovated. So,
Council questions for Randy?
I have one. I ask that every time. Is PGA the only one you call?
Well, since we had them on contract with the Library Senior Center project, it was easier and I think probably less expensive to just ask them to tag onto this project as a follow-up, kind of a domino effect to the move of the other building.
But you don't know that for sure, right?
I'm sorry?
You don't know the PGA would be the cheapest for sure, or whatever, the best.
So, Mayor Pro Tem, professional services, if you'll recall, are not bid based on costs, or based on professional qualifications. We've been pleased with PGAL.
It's
They
just
did
you
our,
always bring in PGA, and I just always wonder why you don't spread it out a little bit.
yeah, so BRW designed our fire station. PGAL is doing the design for the library senior center. We're confident in their abilities. Randy and Lee have met with them, and we wouldn't bring you a proposal that we didn't feel like we'd put our recommendation toward.
Mary, go ahead.
And I was so impressed with the work that they did, the preliminary work they did, and all the meetings they had to find out, what the citizens needed and what the needs of the staff were. And so they've done so much homework about Saginaw in general. Now we don't have to have someone new come in and figure out what we're all about. So I think that's another reason, to have them be in charge.
So how many, is PG, are they the ones that's done all of our evaluations and anything?
They did a preliminary facility assessment, which they presented to the council in March of 2019. We used that document to bring to our Citizens Bond Committee that summer. Their estimates, I think Chief Spears could attest to, as well as with our library project, have been sound based on probable estimates of cost. And again, our fire station project, BRW, was the firm selected. So in the grand scheme of things, this renovation is pretty small. There's an existing structure that will have a new exterior. There may be some interior modifications. So as Randy mentioned, the public works facility that we have is not the long-term facility. Another element that we'll talk about, I think, later this summer is to get your feedback regarding the animal shelter. So it was built as a temporary facility. It's a modular facility. It's at capacity and has been. Now, that being said, Lee has some experience in overseeing construction of a new facility when he was in Denton. If we were to build a brand new facility that's bigger and nicer, it's going to fill up just the same way with the pet situation. So that's something we'll talk about, maybe with your direction, bring to voters.
So on this PGAL, and then business, is there any type of thumb rule to get an architectural service proposal per square foot or anything like that?
No, there's really not, and the Professional Services Act prohibits the council from considering cost. So it's not just you don't bid it based on cost, it's you're not allowed to award it based on cost. So it's just whichever professional service provider provides the most competent proposal.
I just thought once before we'd asked for more than one, that's why I asked. And I ask it every time because every time it's PGAL, so I just feel like that there's probably other people out there that might give us a good run for our money too. So.
Sure, for the fire station, we looked at BRW and
Yeah, so the only current project with PGAL is the Library Senior Center, which we've had pretty good feedback so far in the design process. They engage well with the public, seniors, and library board. They know some of the needs and are aware, so we feel confident in bringing them forward.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Dave, I was looking at the preliminary needs assessment provided by PGAL, and I'm on slide number 3 on this presentation. I noted that you're talking specifically about renovating the library and the city hall. I don't know how much money is actually applied to the city hall renovations, but the animal shelter is so much more need than what city hall is. And personally, I think we'd be better off using that packet of money for the animal shelter since Public Works is moving out into the library anyway, right? I mean, our city hall is, less than 10 years old.
So
I think we can get by a little longer because, right now with the prices, with inflation, the prices of gas, I know our taxes are going gonna be going up. I'd like to do whatever it is we can to help the financial burden on our citizens.
It's a great point. So sequentially, and keep in mind this is a concept plan. So they will look at the space planning needs, which is primarily public works, admin, building inspections, and code enforcement going next door. We're at capacity here for city hall positions. There was some talk of potentially expanding the city council chambers, which, for certain meeting nights, we don't have enough room. So it's the right time now to think globally and long term. Once these space needs are identified, we would bring a design contract where they would actually draw up construction drawings. So I completely am with you with the animal shelter. The trick is we cannot really do anything with the animal shelter until we've addressed Public Works. So once Public Works moves, at some point in the future, we would do a partial demolition of that site. It would allow a larger footprint for a future facility. If it's the will of the council, we can bring a similar concept design to begin having those discussions with an animal shelter facility.
I also recall a conversation that they were talking about putting a glassed-in walkway at the cost of about $100,000 between the library and the council chambers.
Sure, there are no design elements. They're conceptual in nature. Again, there will be a design contract that comes to the city council that is very specific. That was just an idea. May shake out.
Strike any of those items?
They haven't even been designed yet.
I'm just saying, when it comes to us, can we strike any of those items?
Sure. Yeah, the architect will bring a design based on feedback from staff. I think Randy requested some sort of OU statue out front. Now, whether we need that or not.
Good element.
I already denied that one. So that one
Denied that, yeah. So, council member, there is nothing set in stone other than we need to do the work of space planning before we can get a design contract started.
Well, I was looking at the office spaces increasing in size. What's the justification for that? Several office spaces increasing in size.
What page are you on? I'm sorry.
Well, I was on 3, and I can't remember what page it was on.
You're looking at 2.2.3, the concept drawings, right? That's where we started.
The one that's provided in our packet?
Yeah.
Yes.
2.2.3, that concept drawing. But what was the other one you brought up about the office?
It was on page 3 about the facilities are not included in this packet. It's the animal shelter. And that's why I say I thought the money that could be used to revise this building or remodel this building could be used to improve the animal shelter. And we can delay the remodel of this.
So again, it's a conceptual design. If the library were to vacate tomorrow, we would still need office space and usable space for public works, plan review.
Over there, not here.
That's correct. Yep.
And that's what I'm saying. Part of the money that's used, you're talking about, what, $5.4 million to remodel both facilities?
That would be a construction cost. Yep. So once, again, concept design, we would bring a design contract for you. They'll draw the plans. Once we have plans, we'll bid it out in the market, just like every other facility project.
And that's why I'm saying, why can't we delay the city hall renovations and go for the animal shelter? Because if you read on Facebook, and a lot of people do, animal shelter has
I absolutely agree. We cannot increase the footprint of the animal shelter now until we know where Public Works is going to go, if that makes sense.
I think what she's saying is if you're going to put Public Works over at the library, why do we got to redo this before we do the animal shelter?
Yes.
Not the library, this.
Right. So the thought would be to think of the ultimate build-out population, which is between 30 and 35,000, as well as all the staff that will be necessary to serve a city of 30 to 35,000.
Okay, but I was also looking on this presentation that we were given that you're increasing the office sizes.
Yes, we would definitely increase office sizes because there would be more offices.
I saw that for here, the city hall.
Right. Again, we would have to look at the ultimate build-out population of the city as well as how many staff.
I'm on page 10 of this presentation.
Yep.
Page 10 of 41.
So, for example,
As for the city manager's office, he's right now at
Yeah, so to give you an example, Pedro, our communications manager, is in a closet in the lobby. Probably not an ideal situation because it's not secured. That's something we want to look at in keeping the future in mind of a city of 30 to 35,000.
But he couldn't go over to the library, or that job could not go over to the library?
That's why we have this study, to consider all these factors. There may be future, employees in the finance department, for example, that we would have to program in and figure out where they're going to go.
Okay, because I know storage is a huge problem.
Storage is, you're absolutely correct. Janice will tell you we have records, mandatory records that we have to keep, and storage is something we'll look at as well.
Yeah, Keith could tell us about that too.
So, on the issue of offices, the private sector is all moving to open concept, and have been for years. Why isn't the city looking at it? It saves a lot on square footage. We're talking about, I know you mentioned that it was insecure, this whole building security, you have to have a key card to get in. So to me, once I walk through the door and I key card in, I'm in a secure location.
Not where Pedro's office is, that's where the public comes in.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we did an open concept, it would be cheaper, could be cheaper.
Yeah, and again, that's why we're paying the professionals, architects, to guide us. These are all good. I'm not an architect, but I think we have a great opportunity because the building next door is relatively open. There's not a lot of hard walls in there as a library, so yeah, I may have an open concept with the indoor OU shrine. We'll see.
We're looking at things, we have to do something with that building to make it usable for public works, whatever the best is. So that's got to be a priority. It just has to. However I don't know. However we do, we've got to redo something to make it livable for our public works folks. We talked about getting front-facing customer service people off Brenda Lane over here. I think that's what we really want to make it more usable for citizens to come get stuff. Plus, whatever else we can do. I don't know why. So that's really probably number one. I think City Hall will be number two, priority-wise for that. How we're going to work out. The proposal is to put them both together because you could use some synergies or however it's going to make it work. People back and forth, whatever it would be. And some kind of connector just off the walkway or whatever. I think that's really what we're discussing. I think we'll get
That's correct. And then the other space concern, we kind of mentioned it earlier, is the depot. So building inspections, code enforcement are in the depot. That's probably not a long-term solution. Makes sense to have them for plan review and other purposes with public works. That would free up the depot for, public rentals or some other use in the future. So the intent is to look holistically and long-term at our facility needs.
But technically, the depot's not the city's.
So the city owns the building. However, the city leases the land that the depot sits on. Now, that lease technically could go away at any time if the railroads don't want to entertain that anymore. We don't think that will be the case. But yeah, city owns the building, but not the land.
Todd?
Yes, go ahead.
And I just think it makes sense to look at these two buildings together. It would give the planning of the use, more flexibility to be able to look at them both together, because that library is probably not going to be 100% public works, and some of the departments that are here could end up over there. And as far as the animal control, they are in desperate need. But you can't do that until Public Works leaves. Then you can use part of Public Works that no longer needs that room because they're over here.
Well, Public Works can't do anything until the library leaves.
Right. So everybody has to wait for everybody to, so it makes sense. And I will be the number one person to say, let's fix that animal control situation. It's in desperate need, but it can't be done till Public Works moves.
So the ideal timeline would be we do this conceptual plan study, finish maybe the end of this calendar year. Is that correct? Go to a design contract. We understand the design elements. Finish the design contract. And then if we were in a position to take that to bid for construction, we could plan a construction contract concur with moving the library. So that way we don't have a vacant facility that's being underutilized. So just one step of 3. Concept design, award a construction contract.
So it seems like maybe a little bit reading into this is there any reason why we have to do a contractual design thing at the exact same time as these two for the animal shelter?
I may defer to Lee. I think the prep work for the space planning, and we would have to set some parameters of the ultimate capacity. We could probably build a shelter the size of Walmart, and again, unfortunately, it'd be full next week.
Yeah, I agree
But-
with all of you. I'm just saying,
Yep.
seems like all you're asking for is contextual design for these two buildings, and people very much worry about the animal shelter. And I think everybody here has been to the animal shelter agrees something needs to get done.
Yeah.
But you have to take the first step, and the first step is no matter what, is again, for an animal shelter to be the contractual design. So could we just go ahead and get that knocked out, no matter how big or how small or what it is?
I agree. I mean, we're doing conceptual design while the library is still occupied. There's no reason why we couldn't consider animal shelter as well.
We could just approve all 3 of them today.
So I think we'd have to get a scope. So it'd be a separate item for the animal shelter. But city management is about long-term planning, and I completely agree. We would be happy to get you a conceptual design to look at space planning needs.
Can we
How
get
long?
that edited and say in the next couple of meetings?
I'll contact them tomorrow if that's what you would like me to do. I think a month is probably a little more realistic, though, for them to come up
The
with
19th
stuff.
meeting is canceled, so.
True. So we could probably do that in August sometime. They had indicated that if this scope goes forward just for the heater building in the city hall, that they would start on that in August.
And this is just, that way we got all 3 of them, that contractual design is done, and
Again, I see the animal shelter as a priority over the city hall.
Well, this gives you what we would know with the check, we know exactly what's going to happen to City Hall, exactly what's going to happen to the library, and even with that animal
and it also follows past sequencing. We did the exact same thing to prepare for our bond election. We could take based on a concept plan, because the first thing that the average citizen or voter is going to ask is, how big is it going to be? What's it going to look like? Necessary homework to get to that point.
And I think once we start seriously talking about animal shelter, we'll consider a bond, because it may be large enough that it may warrant a bond. But we can talk about that once we get some more data.
Gabe, I got one question.
Sir.
You were saying in the write-up that the funds would come from the, what is it, ARPA is the one paying for that. Would that also pay for the animal shelter as well?
Yeah, Kim says it's eligible, so yeah, we could use that for design money.
All right, so we've got an action item. This is an action as well tonight to approve this initial concept, what we've asked for a concept for the animal shelter as well. So any other questions on this, council? And if not, I will entertain a motion for item 9.
Go ahead.
Mayor, I move that we approve item 9 with the addition of the animal shelter. Or, do we need to bring that up later?
We don't know that number yet.
Yeah.
So we'll ask, the action item is to ask for that, but we'll approve this now and then see that later, whenever it comes, if that makes sense.
I approve that, or I move that we approve the consideration and action of the professional architectural services for the library and city hall renovations.
Do I have a second? Mary, second? Okay. So let's vote. All right. Thank you, guys. Motion approved. Item number 10, fiscal year 2022-23 budget workshop. That Finance Director Kim Quinn.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. We're going to continue on with our workshop series tonight with 3 funds, the first one being the Drainage Utility Fund. And I didn't have this ready at the time the packet went out, so you have hard copies in front of you. That one's good. Thank you. Okay. So the Drainage Utility Fund, the primary source of funding is the monthly drainage utility fee that is part of the water bill. When we had the comprehensive fee study a couple months ago, the proposal was to increase this from $5 a month to $6 a month. And so that is included. That increase is included in the preliminary proposed budget as the main funding source. It was last increased in fiscal year 16-17, and if you recall the comparison, we were below every other city for a drainage utility fee. On the expense side, the Drainage Utility Fund will continue to fund 2 drainage maintenance workers that are in the General Fund, Public Works Department. It also, Drainage Utility Fund also funds half of the environmental manager and environmental technician who are in the Water Wastewater Fund. The big project that we've been working on for several years and have been delayed for mainly utility issues is the East Cement Creek Drainage Project. And the amount that I have in there currently, that's the big change if you look at the difference between the adopted budget and the revised budget. It's been carried forward a couple years now. So the estimate is based on the estimate that we had last year. I think we're almost ready to bid that project out, so we'll have a better estimate of how much we think it'll be, how much we'll spend in the current year versus how much we'll spend in the next year. So hopefully by the time you get the final proposed budget, we'll have a better cost estimate on that. But either way, phase 2 should be going forward pretty soon now after a couple years of delay. The department has asked for an $8,000 funding for an ongoing contract tree trimming. This is to take care of the trees that are in the drainage channels, causing it to get backed up and causing problems there. So this would be an ongoing expense to help with that and assist the staff with people who are specialized and have the knowledge and the equipment to get rid of those trees. It also includes a one-time expenditure for the replacement of the skid loader, the replacement of a batwing mower, and that's used to keep the drainage channels clear as well. And then there's also some new equipment that they're proposing to monitor the rainfall and the drainage going in. That is for 4 monitors, $30,000 for 4 monitors. The next slide,
That's just the mower deck.
the next slide just shows the numbers behind those graphs. And as I mentioned, the 1.6 million is an old estimate that will be revised here pretty shortly. And so you'll see, the next time you see the proposed drainage utility fund, hopefully you'll see a better estimate on that project. Are there any questions regarding the drainage utility fund before we move on? Okay, we'll move on to the donations fund then. This is the fund where we account for the donations. Most of the money here is through the dollar donations, through the water bill. The main ones that we collect are for beautification, parks, and library. Although we do account for train and grain donations here. There's some police donations and fire donations. People donate for those department expenditures as well. And animal services has some, but the majority of it are the beautification, parks, and library. On the expense side, there's a small amount for the animal services department uses for donations for animal care and supplies. The library will continue to pay for the summer apprentices. That's during the very busy time of the year, the additional staff required to keep things going during the summertime. And then a portion of the management analyst's salary is paid out of the donations as well. The library also pays for some of the software licenses, book subscription fees, and then the special programs and the presenter fees for their special programs like the summer reading program. In beautification, the ongoing expenditures that are paid out of these donations are for mowing Saginaw Boulevard and Blue Mountain Road. There's seasonal landscaping, and then the holiday decorations are spent here. There's also, I think it was about 2 years ago, we also started budgeting $25,000 in beautification for some sort of public art. So that's included in the proposal as well. We also have funding.
How have we done it? Have we actually done anything? What's an example?
We've paid for murals. The 2 murals are the ones that come to mind. Keith?
We have 3 murals that were paid for by beautification out of this account.
And that
would be 4, wouldn't it? We have 4.
4.
Two
Yes.
on the
I'll forget about that one.
northwest.
4 murals.
And so that's
Thank you.
the beautification, that's the 25,000 public art, that's kind of where they came from.
Yes, sir. Through donations.
We want a big section of parking.
Yeah, me. Scare people away.
We have planned on funding for next year's 4th of July celebration. That would be through parks donations. And then we have train and grain expenses budgeted for the same amount that we budget for as revenues.
Can I say right here what a huge success the 4th of July celebration was the other night? You know, lots and lots of staff worked hard on this. Tons of folks were there. Police, fire, city hall, public works. I mean, everybody was there. It was all hands on deck, but it was great. I heard an estimate. We're thinking 5,000 people, maybe a little more. Yeah, huge, huge crowd. And I know, as Valerie mentioned, people were parked along 156 watching. They were all over the place watching. So yeah.
We couldn't park anywhere, all the way around. It was everywhere.
Just watching. That's awesome.
So next year, we need to think about putting it on top of the bridge or anything, because yeah. Well, see, Fort Worth, everybody else, a lot of them had to cancel because they couldn't do it because it was so dry. And a lot of people were commenting how good ours was, so.
Somewhere in Fort Worth, they probably don't bar this.
And Dallas caught on fire also, so.
Our fire department did a really good job. They kept the fires at bay for us.
We have the best.
That's right.
Mary, go ahead.
I have a question for Kim, but also about the 4th of July. On social media, which has usually more complaints than, attaboys, I would say it was 98% positive about the 4th of July, which is so unusual. See that on social media. So I wasn't there, but it must have been really great.
They were awesome.
And then, were you finished with this page?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you ready for questions?
Questions, sure.
On the donations fund, refresh my memory if anybody here knows this, but when you get your water bill, it does have that space there for the donation.
Yes.
But does it mention specifically beautification, parks, and library? Does it mention those 3 entities? It does, and that's the only 3 that it mentions? Because I think it would be good to add animal control and maybe add another $1 from animal services.
That is an option. It's just not automatic.
Well, but if we put animal shelter $1, then they would see that it was $4. I think most people would do it. And another thing, a lot of people don't realize, you can call in and you can even say, hey, I want my $3 to go only to this.
That's
you
true.
can name fire department or whatever.
There are people that opt out. There are people that increase it,
And-
and there are people that have asked for an automatic animal.
Yes,
And that,
but I
and that
think
is an
if
option.
if that was listed on the bill with an extra $1, I think most people would just automatically do it, and I think you would find that the animal shelter would have a big increase in their funds.
We might as well put $2 and make it an even 5 across the board. You got 3.
So I don't know what it takes to get that done, but I think it would help the animal shelter a great deal.
We can look.
People would turn down $5 a month. I mean, I'm sure there's some, but.
We have, for beautification, we have 85% participation, and for parks and library, 83% participation. Yeah, so it's still very high.
So adding the animal shelter and moving the $1 is.
I don't know that we can automatically increase a voluntary donation for the people that have already have established accounts, but we could probably, I don't know, legally.
Maybe we would have
for
to
new
actually
accounts, we
vote
could add
to add that.
I think we'd have to add it to the fee schedule, a voluntary fee.
So this is
We're talking about adding animal shelter, a voluntary donation. They're all voluntary.
they're all voluntary, so we would need to add it to the fee schedule because it's not a mandatory fee.
Okay.
And my point is, I know that people can, on their own, say, I want $5 a month to go to animal shelter. But most people don't know that. And if it was actually written on the bill that was an actual additional $1, if you did want to do $1 to all 4 things, I think most people would just automatically do that. But if they didn't see that there, they wouldn't know to say, hey, I want to give $2 a month to the animal shelter. I think it's a sort of a psychological thing.
Sure.
So-
We can look into that, and the first thing that comes to mind too is we could put how we have messages and monthly bills. We could promote it that way. I'm sure Pedro could get the word out if people wanted to add animal services, dollar donation, or whatever amount they wish to do that. We can look at doing that.
Let's do it.
But as far as adding a donation to the current customers automatically, though, I'm not sure.
Could you not put a thing in their bill asking them if they would like to add it?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. We could put a message or something that has them contact. Now, I think probably new accounts, we could do it just like we do right now, and then they can opt out if they choose. But I'm not sure about just adding a dollar donation for animal services to existing accounts.
Well, we increased one of them 50 cents a couple years ago.
They were the people that already had existing donations, we did increase, yes. But that wasn't a new donation. I'm not sure if we can do that or not. Well, I'm looking at Brent.
Yeah, so this is all voluntary, so you need the consent of the citizen or the resident in order to agree to have a fee assessed. These are not dollars that are necessary for us to recoup the administrative cost of our services and providing the service. So in any case, and I don't know how the process really works. I've never seen the water bill, but we need consent anytime we're soliciting a voluntary donation of any amount. And obviously you can word it where they consent to periodic increases automatically, or if we are going to do periodic increases or add a new category of fees, you solicit their approval either at the time that's done or in advance so that they have a clear understanding of what they are agreeing to donate.
So we will get the word out there, and we can certainly make that an option for new customers when they come in to sign up, just the way we do it for the other three donations.
So, okay, is this intercom system new because this stinks? It's not.
Yeah, we've had issues. We'll work on it. I think some of it is you have to be direct your voice.
Am I not speaking
to the
loudly
microphone?
enough?
It's not. You should. It's all of us. Yeah. And sometimes it cracks. Tom.
Any other questions or discussions on donations fund?
I wanted to make a comment about the fireworks. In addition to the city staff that worked at that event, there were several representatives from the Saginaw Citizen Police Alumni Association and from CERT that volunteered their time there many, many hours as well. And of course, they got paid overtime for their voluntary pay.
There you go. We're very blessed with our organizations that help.
Okay, we'll move on now to general escrow fund. And this is a fund where it's kind of a catch-all fund, right? So we have special revenue sources that are collected and must be spent for specific purposes. The magnitude is not enough to warrant its own fund, so those are collected in this fund. We make sure that the revenues that we collect for whatever specific purpose is accounted for and spent on that specific purpose. So that's what the general escrow fund is. The expenditures and the types of revenues, this is where hotel motel occupancy tax is collected. We have a court technology fee and a court security fee that's allowed by the state. There's $3 that's collected for each citation for court security, $4 for court technology, and it must be spent on security or court technology. So that's accounted for here. This is where our insurance deductibles and settlements are accounted for in here. And those are the main sources that y'all are probably familiar with. We have on the expense side, Train and Grain. So this is where we pay for, historically, we've paid for advertising for Train and Grain out of hotel motel occupancy tax, as well as some of the entertainment, because part of the hotel motel occupancy tax can also be spent on promotion of the arts. You just approved an expenditure, so when you see the year-end modified budget, you'll see that expense here in the general escrow fund. On court security, we pay the overtime for the bailiff who attends court out of this fund. We also pay for, out of the court technology collections, annual replacement for ticket writers. We have proposed for next year 4 for the police department and 1 for animal services. They're on a rotating schedule. We have insurance deductibles. We just take our best estimate based on historical data for this. Insurance deductibles are all over the place. As you know, the last couple of years with the storms, it's been higher than other historical averages. We did collect for a police vehicle that was totaled this year, so next year we'll use those funds that were collected to replace a CID vehicle here in the general escrow fund. And then we've also historically paid for the farmers market management contract in this fund from the hotel motel occupancy tax. So those are and these are just the numbers behind the graphs there. And you'll see that that's all that's proposed on the expense side here, or those items that I just mentioned. Are there any questions on the general escrow fund? Okay, the last thing that I wanted to mention then is the budget calendar, and I've also made a copy and left that at your places here. We normally have 2 calendars, and based on preliminary, I don't want to talk too loud, preliminary estimates of tax rate, and then also based on the approval of the increase in the senior exemption, I think it's wise to follow the more accelerated schedule, and that is in case we need to entertain closer to the de minimis tax rate, which is typically, depending on how it works out, typically higher than the voter approval rate. But in order to do that, we need to follow an accelerated schedule. And so I have just some of the highlights of the accelerated schedule. And as we go through it, I'll mention the decision points and what's different from the regular schedule. One of the biggest differences is that we will have to post and submit our proposed budget book earlier. In fact, we would be doing that just like we did last year before we even receive our certified value. So we won't have a definite tax rate yet, but we will have our best estimate, and then that will be revised as we have that information. But in order to meet the deadlines, the proposed budget would have to be submitted a little bit earlier than we normally would. We always get certified on July 25th. That won't change. And then by the next council meeting, and just like I would normally anyway, the first meeting in August, all of those tax rate bylaws need to be submitted to y'all, and all of those calculations will be done, submitted to y'all, and then we will be requesting a record vote on the proposed rate, not the final rate, but proposed rate, and that's required for the publication in the paper, as well as on the TAD website, Tarrant County website, and our website. Those are all state mandated. So we'll ask for a vote on the proposed rate at the first meeting in August. And again, you're not committing to that tax rate at that point. It's just that you're considering that rate. Then we'll go through the normal publishing and postings that we have to do. I have the budget retreat would stay the same date that we had originally had on the calendar. If needed, we have a Saturday reserved for that. And then the biggest difference is instead of adopting the budget and the tax rate in the mid-September, we would need to do that by August 22nd. So that would require a Monday meeting. Just like if you recall, we had this last year. We did the same exact thing. So I just wanted to bring your attention to that fact that we'll be following the accelerated schedule, and so some of the dates are a little bit different. Are there any questions or discussions on the budget calendar? Okay, thank you.
Questions for Kim? We good? So let's keep something in mind, folks. When we talk about tax rate, taxes will go up this year. They will. They have to. So let's accept that now. I know it's going to be some pain. Once the citizens approve the 2021 budget bond election, the ABC bond election, we set that in motion when we sold $20 million worth of bonds earlier this year, or in the process of selling that set that in motion that we will have to raise taxes to pay for those bonds. And that's for senior center, library, and some road work, and then parks as well. So just keep that in mind going forward, that the outcome of this will have to be that. Everything else we can discuss, but that is, we're sort of tied into that already. We've taken steps that have forced our hand already on that. So just please keep that in mind. Any other questions for Kim, budget-wise?
We need to tell her thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Item number 11, we are skipping. That will be at a future council meeting. Item 12, consideration action regarding approval of funds to replace 2 playground structures and fall protection at Highland Station Park and replacement of a restroom facility at Highland Station Park. For that, Director of Public Works, Randy Newsom.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This item's come before y'all before. Y'all requested I go back and get a structure for Highland Station Park that is more like the Willow Creek Station for multi-skill levels or abilities. And I did that. I went back. I have Steve Thompson from Playground Solutions. He's here tonight. He can answer questions more than I can on that stuff. But he went back and put together a nice package, and I think y'all all have a drawing of it.
Can we throw it up on the move tube here?
Also in that cost, we had a restroom, but I also want to point out that it's $107,000. But the city manager directed me at one time to go before the park board and ask them to consider highly whenever the park bond funds are put in motion in I think the 22-23 budget, that we consider all the restroom facilities as a high priority at all our parks. And so I did that, and they're aware of that. They put it on there. They've made note of it.
So, Mr. Mayor, just one note. Spoke with Brack. I think it's a request maybe the Parks Board, and I let him speak, that the City Council may potentially consider an intent to reimburse for these expenditures. So if you'll recall, we can bring a resolution to you in the near future that would say we will expend funds now and then reimburse them with future bond proceeds. So I texted Andrew Friedman, and he called me back, so good on him for working after hours. But he said if that's the council's pleasure, we bring an intent to reimburse, so we could, instead of paying for this with general fund balance, we'll just take that as a deduction from our future bond issue, our parks bond issue, which was $4 million. So I don't know if Brack wants to.
Parks Board's okay with that?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't speak for them explicitly, but there's a general. Let me stand up. Or,
sure, why not?
But I get the feeling that there's a very general acceptance that we want to use this for improving the parks as best as we can. This project came along a little bit faster than we could have the availability of the funds there. But in general conversations, the restrooms, the various playgrounds, we've all discussed this, and there's a general consensus on the board. So,
thank you, sir. Good. Now, I understand the restrooms will be paid for by ARPA money, right?
Yeah, that's what we propose because they're ADA accessible and they'll meet, all current standards. So that's what we're proposing.
So do we have to get that approved, or is that just fall in the category so it's good to go?
It's an eligible expense. All you all just need to approve the expenditure.
Awesome. I like that. Question, Kelly?
I have a question.
Please.
Are we able to put cameras or something where we can watch these restrooms? I know that's kind of there's a lot of trees. You can't from trees. You know what I mean? I'm just wondering.
You're talking about the outside of the restroom, not the inside of the restroom.
Yeah.
I want to make sure.
I don't want kids going in there tearing it up is what I'm saying. And so that way if we had a camera somewhere.
Well, to be honest, those restroom facilities that we install now, those prefab ones, I mean, the one at the food truck park, I mean, they're almost indestructible. Okay. I mean, there's nothing in there they took baseball bats and tried their best, but they give up. Okay. They don't, you can't destroy them.
Well,
Can't beat the walls.
Because this was more secluded.
But if to answer your question, could we put cameras? Absolutely. We've actually got a camera on the one at the food truck park. Yeah. We have a camera at the ballpark at the softball field. So
well, I don't know how many of these trees belong to the city, but I bet the hunters have those tree things that you can watch for the deer. You could do that for that bathroom. I'm just thinking ahead.
Randy, if you remember, not too long ago, we had kids show up down at Willow Creek Park, put Sack Creek down the toilets.
Yes. Now that's the only thing you can't prevent them from doing, but they hadn't thought of that one.
Well, don't say that out purpose.
Thanks.
Other questions for Randy?
I got two. One, I see the first one. I'm assuming you got two here. The first one looks like it has at least some of that match over, but the second one doesn't seem so. I just wanted to get, because I sent that question. Both of them will have some type of screening.
Steve sent a better picture. I think it was after the packet went out.
Oh, okay.
Did I share it with you? Steve, you want? Yeah.
Nikki, you're talking about like sun.
Yeah. That includes the little small ones.
Yeah.
The other didn't.
Are you talking about the one on page 7 of this presentation?
Yes. If you scroll down, that one. See, that doesn't show it.
I don't know what that is.
That you say there's two of them, so I'm assuming one's for one because you're replacing two.
Yes, so Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you for first having me here tonight, and Randy for inviting me. We did include 2 integrated shades into the playground. It's kind of hard to see in that rendering. I sent Randy a better drawing because sometimes when we render these out, my CAD designer puts a little bit too many trees in there, and he gets a little carried away. He likes the trees. So that kind of gets washed in the drawing. But yes, it would be the similar type of canopy that you have at Willow Creek. It's actually, this is a very almost the exact same structure on that bigger one for this one. It's a 5 to 12. It's ADA accessible. All the things that you have over it it has the canopy in there. So everything is pretty much the way it is over at Willow Creek.
Which part of these have wheelchair accessibility? Is it the little?
As you see the entrance there by what we call the ramps going inside are ADA accessible. On the far left there, that drawing. So I can send you, I don't know if there's a top view of it. I can provide that for you, no problem. But yeah, if we access this, we have to use the ramp to come in. Then it goes to a 12-inch deck. Then you'll go to a 24. Then I think there's another 30. There's some ways that we make sure that we meet that inclusive.
What are those kids in the wheelchair going to play on? Is what I'm asking.
One thing they can play on is the aero glider. You see right there that they can roll.
One?
Yes,
like
they can. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Yes, ma'am. That way they can access from that. Meets the ratio as far as the. Yeah. So they'll come down. And it's a 1 to 12 ratio for a ramp, so they can enter the aero glider. They can interact with other able-bodied children. Also, if you've watched them play or you didn't know, other kids can stand on the outside of it and play with it. Right. A lot of them like to do that. They get it rocking, and so the other kids, they say you're in a wheelchair.
Well, that and the little
Spinner.
Mm-hmm. Those two at the Willow Creek get the most use.
Yeah, I try to visit that, and you know, I take my grandkids there, so they love that park. So
I just worry about kids in wheelchairs.
Yes, ma'am.
We have like 2,500 in Saginaw.
Right. Yes, absolutely, and that's part of the when we talk about inclusion. That was one of the things that over my time in 23 years of doing this, it has changed so much. Is that when I first started in '99, if you built a ADA playground, what they call it, meet the standard, you had lots of ramps, lots of decks, and not a lot to play with. But with children that are classified as disabled, about 6% are in a wheelchair. Your biggest percentage of children who are classified as disabled fall into the autism spectrum, and Asperger's and social disorders, but you still have to address that need for a child that has a mobility issue. So even like a child in a walker can access this up to that. So that's always important to us. You know, Play World, the company we represent, started addressing that in about 2009. We have a special consultant that we submit all our designs. If we're going to say it's an ADA, we'll go past that minimum standard, because we just know that, you know, if a family has one child that's disabled, they more than likely have another child who is able-bodied. So again, it's hard for a parent to take one kid to one playground and to another, and that's part of why we call it inclusive, because it includes all children.
As long as we get stuff that the wheelchairs can play on.
Yes, ma'am.
Other questions?
Yeah, so just so I make sure that the blue and orange one, I guess, would go down where the school is, and then the green one would probably go with the hill across the creek.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
Do you plan on hunting deer from that green one?
It blends in well.
The green one doesn't have anything for a wheelchair kid, does it?
No, ma'am. But it does meet the requirement for.
Could you address the construction time frame, ordering materials, that sort of
Yes, sir.
installation?
Okay. You mean do her question then that, or okay? That does meet the ADA requirements for a playground. Again, generally that rule is what we call the 50-50 rule. If you have 10 elevated play events, for example, you have to have 5 accessible at ground level that can be accessed from the ground. So that's why you have a transfer station, audible things that you can get up there. The steps are 8-inch treads, so that as you move up into the playground, you technically, I mean, I'm splitting hairs here, can access the playground that way. And the surface that we would put down is an accessible surface.
But nothing here, a wheelchair can play.
No, not yet. No, ma'am. You could come back at a. Yes, ma'am. And that's what we use a component. We use a clamping system, so we can come back and add on to something or expand it. It's a pretty easy. It's somewhat tedious, but it's pretty easy for the guys to do. And we can design it that way, where we just change out the clamps, check it, and add on to it. As far as like
if we could put something where they could pull up to and just play with,
Yeah, they should be, because they'll access the surface in there. Then they can pull up to the transfer station. We have grab-it bars so they can get out, get on the stairs, and move up into the playground. Yeah, but our ground level activities will allow them to come up to it and everything.
I'm just curious. My youngest grandchild is an adult.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm not going to playgrounds these days. I haven't been to playgrounds in a while. So what are those structures up at the top? What are those?
It just adds to the designers put those in there as far as like giving it a whimsical look, like mushrooms.
So
flowers.
they aren't.
They don't really provide a lot of. It's more of a look than it is a functional.
Okay. They might try to climb up there.
We make it where they can't. So it's real hard to access them from a deck or shooting up the pole. It's come up in the past, or in my time, and it's knock on wood, I haven't had one climb up there and fall off yet. So it's always the one that they climb up stuff are like tube slides and things that go high that they can access from the outside. They do that.
This one's going to have the same surface as the other.
Yes, ma'am. And I brought a sample if you're interested.
I just wish there was something we could put there for a wheelchair.
We can add some activities if you'd like, in the future or at any time that you'd like. Materials wise and timing, right now Play World's running about 14 weeks from the date of order to shipping. I wish I had a better time frame for you, but I want to be transparent with that with you guys. We are a little better than our competitors, which a lot of them are running 6 months, 7 months. And the challenge is obviously the supply chain and labor shortage. That's been one of their problems is finding people to come to work. The factories in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, middle of Amish country, a beautiful part of the world this time of the year. It's not hot. Don't go in the winter because it's really cold. But their challenges are getting people there who are skilled, because we have to have certified welders. We have to have people who we just can't hire. They can't hire just anybody. Plus, they're overcoming a fire at the factory last year. About just a little over a year ago, we had a fire at the factory that damaged a lot of the factory and some of their production. Thank goodness we've kind of overcome that part of it. They're working on the supply chain now. All our playgrounds are ordered ground up. We don't keep any inventory. We use a lean manufacturing process. It helps us with our capital money that when they put one together, everything's ordered. It's not sitting at the factory. So they'll it's all made at one time. And so that chain of production, it makes sure that that everything has not been sitting in a box or a tube or, one of the setbacks they had last year is when they had the fire, they had $2 million worth of playgrounds sitting in the bays, and all of it had to be thrown away.
So this one will have covering too?
Yes, sir. It would be. Well, no, it would have just like that, and the surfacing would be like this. We wouldn't have a canopy. Yeah. Now you can come back at another time and add a canopy, which is not. It's a pretty straightforward process. You come in, you measure, make sure you don't impede in the use zones of the playground. Don't want to tear up the surfacing and fit it over that. With the consideration of those toppers on there too, that we don't get them touching. It's always a real hard thing to do in Texas. Wind is constant, and so it moves fabric up and down. And then once it moves up and down, it rubs against something, and that's where you'll get a hole, or But generally, fabric's held, better than it used to when I started. Your biggest challenge over at that park is really not so much the playground; it's the route. That's where a lot of people will miss it on ADA. You can put in an accessible playground, but you've got to have a way to get them there. Smooth, flat surface. Yeah, yes. You just can pull a sidewalk to it, but you have to make sure that it's wide enough. It meets the same slope issues. But
my thought was without covering over the top of this one. I mean, we were tough when we were kids. We had
yeah.
Kids nowadays.
Yes. And then as far as installation time, it goes to our installer. We don't ship it to the site. It goes to our installers. We have a yard over here in Haltom City.
Which one are you putting in first, the blue and orange one?
Whichever one you want me to put in. And just tell the timing of it would be whatever I'm directed by city.
Yeah, the plan is for us to work with Steve and get the ship date, and then we're going to take it down in-house and prep the site, but we'll work it all out with him. And so we don't want it down for very long, little as possible between playground structures, because they'll get.
So are you going to try to put the blue and orange one up first? That's what I'm asking.
The first one right there on Trinity Trail. Yeah.
And that would take approximately about 2 weeks to put in. Then I have to have probably another week to do the surfacing, just because I would say on the surfacing, I would recommend that you use 2 colors on the surfacing. That way, I remember how many square feet it is. I think it's under 2,500 square feet. Yeah. We can do one color. If you want to do multiple colors, you can do that. You can just show us and they don't charge you for that. They don't charge us.
Well, you might as well make it fancy for the kids.
Well, I can. I can put some stuff in there. Now, if you put tracks and stuff into it, that's like we did at the other one. But this one, I would do some color. You could do some color changes. Just me aware, if it gets above 2,500 square feet, that's what we run into. Well, if you do more than that, it gets a different color.
No, I think they learned it.
Oh, well, I'll be more involved in this time because no drainage issue. That's what we have talked about. It's like filling that in and where it drains, because the way it was done before, there was a miscommunication. I came in on the end of it when I left the other company, another guy was handling it, and then I got it, and I come in on the end of it and just kind of try to manage it the best we can. But, the guy, I thought they stood with us a little bit and helped us on that, and we'll have a better feel for this. But once we go flat on the ground like we would propose, you don't have to worry about drainage. It's when you get down like into where you build a curb or you build a sidewalk, you've got to get that water out of there, and it has to have the right like gravel and stuff to get it out. So.
I would think if you did it in colors kind of like that, kids would think that that's kind of a walking route.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking of the backyard of the daycare.
Yeah, we can put like a path into it. Like you can put a walking path and have. We've done stuff. If you want to see something like that, if you ever go to Central Market in South Lake, we did one there. The general contractor messed up, so we're trying to get it straightened out. But we did one with turf and rubber, and it has a contrasting color in it. So that, and they can do that with the rubber. They can fold it in, seamless. Because when we pour it, we don't want to create a seam where kids can get their finger into it and start pulling it up.
Because if there's a hole,
Oh yes.
What's the life expectancy on these equipments?
I would say, I have playgrounds that have lasted longer than me. I mean, I've been here 23 years and have some that I'm just now replacing. And I'm doing one in Nakona that's been there for 35 years. It was a Play World. So it just depends on there'll be some maintenance things that you'll have to do after a certain amount of time. We have a lifetime warranty on your poles, clamps, and hardware. 5 years on moving parts, 15 years on the plastics and the decks. So, and I live in Fort Worth, so if there's something goes wrong, we went and fixed the little spinner thing over at Willow Creek the other day. It's just getting the part here and pushing the manufacturers. Of course, everyone's pushing them, and everybody wants their stuff now, and it's just kind of juggling act for them. I feel bad for them, but we try to get it here as quickly as possible.
So, talking about that covering that's protected, it's a big investment. Do you have any idea what it would cost to put a covering over that green?
Don't hold me to it, but about let's see, that's probably $25,000 to $30,000. That's installed and all. And so when you install one, you've got to drill a pier, so there's concrete in it, and getting it and erecting it. But that's it might be a little less than that. Just we've been seeing some increases in steel prices with the canopy people, not the playgrounds, the canopy people, because the one that we use primarily did not buy their steel fast enough. I have another one out of Florida that I use that he's pretty consistent.
Mayor and council, if it's a desire to the council to have shade structure, I'd probably recommend adding it in now and not having it come
Yeah.
back.
That's
So,
what I was thinking.
Yes, it is.
Everybody okay with adding $25,000 to this bid? That's what we'll be doing.
Are you going to do it like the umbrella type, or will it be a straight?
I would probably do a hip roof over it. That gives you the most shade, and that by adding shade to a playground, it not only provides coolness and shade and UVA and UVB protection to the kids and parents, but it also protects your equipment and your surfacing, because just the sun here is just brutal on everything.
Well, I think if we're going to do it, we might as well put the shade on.
What's the life expectancy of the surfacing?
They have a 5-year warranty, but I have some that, again, given Texas, it's, I have stuff that lasts 10, 12 years without having anything onto it. I like his stuff because we don't put a concrete slab under it. So that's another thing. It kind of shifts with the ground. What happens to poured in place is if you do a canopy, it's going to keep the sun off of it and make it last a lot longer, because what happens to poured in place is the sun gets in and it starts breaking down the glue, and you get these little particles coming up like on kind of what I'd say traditional poured in place. So that's where you get a hole in it or you get a wear spot, and then that's. But knock on wood again, I've worked with them for almost 10 years, this particular company, and have had no problems. Sir?
How old is that stuff in the cube?
No, it rides around in my car. About 4 years old. It's 4 years old. I got it when I first started. I left the other company and I stayed with Play World, and his name is Steve as well. So he's in Aubrey, and I give him a hard time. He's from New York, so I have to give him a hard time. But their stuff is held up very well. And that's the reason we stuck with them. Been very happy.
All right, council, other questions?
I have one more.
Sure.
I'm just as bad as the kids when it comes to being barefoot outside. What's the surface temperature of that?
you can probably on a bad day 155 to 160 degrees. But we have to maintain a surface temperature it can't exceed where it doesn't cause, it will be, that does sound really hot, and rubber does get hot, just like turf gets hot. The rule is you can no bare feet. That's generally you get a sign with the playground that gives you the rules in there, and I strongly recommend no bare feet. There's really nothing you can do about it. There's nothing out there that dissipates the heat. If we lived in a different part of the country, you might have a little bit less ambient temperature. But again, we have a liability, just like you do, that we don't want someone injured. And so we try to stay in that, I'm just being honest with you. Rubberized tile can go to 175 degrees over concrete underneath it. But with having this crumb rubber underneath it does help kind of absorb some of that heat and dissipate it out a little bit.
No bare feet.
Greatly. I mean, the covering can drop the temperature underneath one 10 to 15 degrees. Easily. Okay. So just, we have to meet what we call impact attenuation. That means that when your head strikes the surface, there's an amount of energy that's absorbed at that strike point. So, and we have different heights. We have, what we call a critical fall height. So that determines the thickness of this. So again, we have to make sure that there's a standard from ASTM that we have to adhere to when we put it down, that it meets that standard, because your biggest form of injuries are falls to playgrounds. 76%, 67% are direct fall to a playground surface. So we want that energy dissipated out, because if it's not dissipated, that's where you get fractured skulls, brain injuries. Bad stuff will happen.
Is there one color that's colored? One color that's cooler than the other?
Not really. I would say, like I said, what I propose is a mix of 50% color and 50% black. It's kind of what you have at the other place. It's hard to see the black sometimes, depending on the color. Like with the greens, the blues, they really absorb the heat. They hold it. If you put the same way with the fabric on the playground, if you use a darker color, a blue, even black, or dark greens, absorb the heat. Just the opposite, like they tell you to wear a light colored shirt. By absorbing the heat, it keeps the heat from going down into the playground area underneath it, so it holds that heat. The light color ones tend to let more the temperature in, and it's the same way with this stuff.
All right, any other questions? We've talked about this plenty, so any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, I will entertain a motion for this proposal, because I think we wanted to add the canopy.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we accept the approval for the two playground structures with the exception, putting the canopy and everything on it as presented.
Sure.
Do we need to add that intent to reimburse or not?
No, it's fine. You can always reimburse.
Yeah, we'll bring that resolution to the council back a later date.
All right, let's vote.
Thank you, Randy and Steve.
Thank you so much.
Y'all make a lot of kids happy.
We're going to try.
I had a sister reach out to me on this stuff. Have we reached out to that apartment building to see if they would help fund any of this or anything?
No, haven't asked, although Randy did speak with the county, kind of related to that area, about doing the landscape screening that we've talked about. We should have cost for you and an action item our next meeting or two.
All right, so that's item 12 done. Thank y'all, folks. Thank you very much. Item 13 is executive session. So pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071, consultation with attorney, and Texas Government Code 551.087, deliberations regarding economic development. We will recess now to executive session. We will return to adjourn at 8:05.